The sky above the city of Aloria glowed in a soft golden hue as the sun began its slow descent. Towering buildings reflected the light, casting long shadows that stretched across the busy streets below. People walked quickly, eager to reach their homes, cafes, or theaters, oblivious to the invisible threads of destiny weaving above them. Among the crowd, a young woman named Lyra moved with calm purpose. Her hazel eyes held a quiet determination, as if she carried a secret too heavy to share with anyone. Lyra worked as a technician for the city's energy core, a position few were allowed due to its delicate and dangerous nature. She loved the hum of machinery, the warmth of circuits alive with energy, and the strange satisfaction of solving complex problems with careful hands. Yet even as she admired her work, something beyond the city called to her, a sense that her life was part of a greater story, one she could not yet understand. The night arrived with an unusual stillness. The usual chatter of the city softened, replaced by a deep hum from the core station. Lyra was on her routine inspection when alarms suddenly blared through the building. Red lights flashed across the walls and a mechanical voice echoed, "Unauthorized energy spike detected in Sector 7. Lyra's heart raced. Sector 7 was far from her usual station. Something or someone was tampering with the city's most sensitive energy conduits. Without hesitation, she grabbed her toolkit and sprinted down the corridors, past colleagues who stared at the flashing lights with confusion and fear. When she reached Sector 7, she found an impossible sight. A massive creature stood in the center of the room, its form unlike anything she had seen in the world, or in any of the classified records the city kept hidden. It was tall, taller than the highest towers of Aloria, with iridescent skin that shimmered like liquid silver. Its eyes were a deep unearthly green full of intelligence, yet filled with a strange longing. The creature's hands hovered above the energy core, drawing power from it in pulses that made the entire building tremble. Lyra knew she had only seconds to act. Her instincts screamed at her, "Protect the core, protect the city, protect..." something. Without fully understanding why, she ran forward. "Stop," she shouted, her voice echoing across the chamber. The creature turned its gaze toward her. For a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. Then, in a sudden, swift motion, it extended one massive arm. Lyra felt the force of its energy, enough to knock her off her feet. She fell, her toolkit spilling across the floor, tools clattering like tiny thunderclaps. But she did not panic. She knew she had to find a way to reach it, not with weapons, not with anger, but with something else. Something human. Lyra reached into her mind, searching for connection, empathy, a signal that might bridge the gap between her world and this alien presence. Her hand hovered over the core's control panel, and with a deep breath she activated a sequence that synchronized her heartbeat with the pulse of the energy. The creature froze, its glowing eyes locking onto hers. "Please," she whispered, though no one else could hear. "You don't have to destroy this place. We can help you." For a long moment nothing happened. Then the creature's shoulders slumped and a soft vibration filled the room. It was a sound that almost felt like a sigh, a sound of relief, a recognition. And then, in the blink of an eye, the impossible occurred. Lyra's body was lifted into a bright surge of light, and the world seemed to dissolve around her. She felt no fear, only a rushing sensation of weightlessness, as though the air itself had opened to carry her somewhere unknown. The last thing she saw before everything went white was the creature's eyes, fixed on her with a strange, almost human sadness. When she woke, she was gone from Aloria, from her city, from everything she had ever known. She could feel a presence nearby, but it was not the same as before. She was inside a vast ship unlike anything humans had built. Its walls shimmered with energy, flowing like liquid metal. The air was thick but breathable, filled with the faint hum of alien machinery. Before her stood a figure, the same creature from Sector 7, but now fully visible in its true form. It bowed its head slightly. "You saved me," it said in a voice that resonated inside her mind. Not spoken aloud, but understood. Lyra realized that she could hear it perfectly without words. I don't even know who you are," she managed to say. "I am known as Laretha," the creature replied. "Queen of my people. You have saved my life. In return, you must come with me. Your world. It is not yet ready to understand what I am." Lyra's mind raced. She thought of her family, her friends, her life. "I can't just leave them," she said. Laretha's eyes softened. "You have already changed the course of your world more than you know. But you must trust me." There was a moment of silence. The hum of the ship surrounded her like a gentle tide, And for reasons she could not explain, Lyra felt no fear. She felt a strange calmness, a certainty that she was doing the right thing, even if she did not yet understand why. And so, with a deep breath, she nodded. "All right, I trust you." The ship surged forward, moving faster than any human eye could follow. Aloria, the city she had called home, became a small, glittering dot in the distance. And though she did not know what lay ahead, Lyra felt a strange excitement. This was a journey she had never imagined, a story that was only beginning. Meanwhile, back on Aloria, the city's citizens struggled to understand the sudden disappearance of Lyra. Authorities combed through the energy core, examining every circuit, every pulse of power, but there was no trace of her. Only a faint echo, a residual shimmer in the core, hinted at the extraordinary event that had just occurred. Among those observing the city from the shadows was a figure of interest, someone who had always suspected that humans were not alone in the universe. This individual, cloaked in secrecy, whispered to themselves, "She has returned to the stars, and the stars will remember her." 5 years would pass before Lyra returned, but even as she disappeared into the vastness of space, one presence never forgot her. Queen Loretha, the alien ruler she had saved, carried the memory of that single act of courage as a precious jewel. A human who had dared to touch the life of an alien queen. A human who had vanished, yet whose spirit lingered in the mind of a creature far older and wiser than she could imagine. In the endless corridors of Loretha's ship, Lyra would begin to learn secrets beyond human understanding. Secrets of the universe, of energy, of life itself. She would face challenges that tested her mind, her heart, and her very essence. And through it all, the bond between the human and the alien queen would grow, a bond forged in trust, courage, and the quiet strength of one who had vanished from her world, only to leave an indelible mark on another. But even in this strange new world, a question lingered in Lyra's mind. Would she ever see her home again? Would she ever walk among the people she loved, or was she destined to become something else entirely? A bridge between two worlds? A human whose actions could change the fate of galaxies? Only time would tell. And so, in the quiet hum of a ship moving faster than the speed of thought, a human who vanished after saving an alien queen began a journey that would stretch across 5 years, shaping destinies in ways neither species could have imagined. The first days aboard Loretha's ship felt like a dream to Lyra. The corridors shimmered with a metallic glow that pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat. Lights hovered in midair, illuminating everything without the need for lamps or bulbs. Strange symbols floated along the walls, shifting and changing as if alive, and when Lyra touched them, the symbols rippled like water beneath her fingers. Lyra had expected fear or confusion to grip her, yet she felt only curiosity. Every corner of the ship seemed to hum with intelligence, a quiet awareness that observed her without words. Queen Loretha remained nearby, always present but never overwhelming, guiding her silently through the alien environment. "You are adapting faster than I anticipated," Loretha said one morning, her voice echoing gently in Lyra's mind. Lyra had learned that she could understand Loretha perfectly, not through language but through thought, as if the queen's mind reached into her own. I think it's because I want to understand," Lyra admitted. "Everything here. It's incredible. But I still don't understand why I'm here." "You saved my life," Loretha replied simply. "That act connected us. You are part of a story larger than your world, and you must learn the ways of my people to protect it, and perhaps to protect your own." Lyra nodded, though the meaning of Loretha's words was only partially clear. She had always believed that courage and kindness mattered, but she had never imagined that one human's act could ripple across worlds. Days turned into weeks, and Lyra began to explore the ship more boldly. She learned to navigate the corridors that shifted with thought, to touch control panels that responded to gestures, and even to pilot small vessels within the ship that moved like extensions of her own body. Everything felt alive, a part of Loretha's consciousness, and yet everything was foreign. One day, Loretha led her to a vast observation chamber. The walls were transparent, or perhaps they were windows into another dimension, because outside stretched a panorama unlike anything Lyra had ever seen. Stars glittered in impossible patterns, nebulae swirled in colors humans could not name, and massive ships moved gracefully among them. "This is our territory," Loretha explained, and yet it is only a fraction of what exists beyond your world. There are forces here that can create life, and forces that can destroy it. You must understand them. Lyra swallowed hard. Destroy it? She whispered. Yes, Laretha said. There are beings, some like me, some not, who do not understand compassion. They see existence only as power. You, Lyra, have the ability to show them another way, but it will not be easy. Lyra felt a strange mixture of pride and fear. She was a human, small and fragile compared to the vastness surrounding her, and yet she had already made a difference once. Perhaps she could do it again. Training began in earnest. Laretha taught Lyra to manipulate energy in subtle ways, to feel the flow of power that connected all things on the ship. Lyra discovered she could sense disturbances, predict movements, and even influence small events simply through intent and focus. It was not magic, not in the way humans imagined it, but it was power unlike anything she had known, a pure understanding of cause and effect at a level that made her feel simultaneously insignificant and essential. Yet, even as Lyra grew stronger, she missed her home. She thought of Aloria, of the streets bathed in golden light, of the familiar hum of her apartment, of the smiles of her friends. She did not speak of it to Laretha, fearing that such attachments might seem weak. But Laretha, perceptive and ancient, noticed anyway. You think of your world, Laretha said one evening, her voice like a gentle current in Lyra's mind, and that is not weakness. It is strength. Remembering who you are keeps your spirit anchored, even as you learn to reach beyond it. Lyra smiled, grateful for the understanding. I hope I can never return. Laretha's gaze softened. Time is not the same across our worlds. 5 years may pass in your world while moments pass here, but you will see it again. I promise. Life aboard the ship was not always serene. Lyra encountered her first test sooner than she expected. A vessel from an unknown species approached, silent and massive, its energy signature aggressive and overwhelming. The ship's defenses reacted automatically, but Laretha knew that raw force would not stop these invaders. You must act, Laretha told Lyra. You are part of this now. Lyra's heart pounded, but she remembered the first time she had faced danger in Sector 7. Courage did not mean absence of fear, it meant acting despite it. With a deep breath, she extended her awareness, reaching into the energy around her. She felt the flow, the currents, the pulses of life and machinery. Then she projected her intent, not as a command, not as aggression, but as a bridge. The invading vessel slowed. Its lights flickered. For a moment, Lyra felt a flicker of connection, the awareness of a mind beyond her own. And then, it retreated, slowly, deliberately, as if respecting her presence. Laretha observed quietly. You see? Compassion, understanding, they are more powerful than aggression, but you must learn balance, strength and wisdom together. Lyra nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. She was learning more than she had ever imagined. The universe was vast, full of beings with motives beyond human comprehension, and yet, her humanity, her empathy, her courage was what gave her a place in it. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Lyra's skills improved, but she never forgot her humanity. She explored the ship, discovered new chambers, met alien beings who had never interacted with humans before, and learned to communicate with them through thought and gesture. Everywhere she went, the influence of her simple courage radiated. Small misunderstandings resolved themselves, tense situations eased, and even those who had been wary of her began to respect her presence. One evening, Laretha led Lyra to a chamber filled with crystalline structures that pulsed with light. This is a memory chamber, she explained. Here you can see events from across the galaxy, from the beginning of my people to the present. You will understand more of our history and perhaps more of your role in it. Lyra stepped inside, awestruck. Scenes of alien worlds, battles, alliances, and discoveries unfolded around her. As if reality itself had been woven into visible threads, she saw the moment she had saved Laretha, her own image reflected back at her from countless perspectives, and she saw the potential of her actions stretching far into the future. You are part of this story now, Laretha said. Every choice you make, every act of courage shapes the path of countless lives. And one day, you may return to your world, changed and ready to guide it in ways it cannot yet understand. Lyra felt the weight of the truth in those words. She was no longer just a human technician from Aloria. She was a bridge, a link between worlds, a force that could influence both human and alien destinies. And yet there was one question that haunted her. What of the people she had left behind? Did they remember her? Had they moved on, or were they waiting somehow for her return? Loretha seemed to sense her thoughts. Patience, Lyra. All things unfold in their own time. Your home awaits, but only when the moment is right. Lyra exhaled slowly. Patience was a new lesson for her. In a world that moved faster than thought, even time could be taught as a teacher, not a master. Months passed. Lyra trained, explored, and learned. She became skilled at energy manipulation, diplomacy, and strategy. She encountered beings who tested her limits, who challenged her understanding of morality and courage. And with each encounter, she grew stronger, not just in skill, but in wisdom. But one constant remained: Loretha. The Queen never forced her, never demanded obedience, but always guided, always observed, always remembered the moment Lyra had reached out and saved her life. That moment had created a bond, rare and precious, one that transcended species, language, and even time itself. And in that bond lay the promise of a future neither could yet fully see, a future that would test Lyra in ways she could not imagine, challenge her to make choices that would ripple across galaxies, and eventually bring her back to the world she had left behind. For now, though, she was learning, growing, and discovering the vastness of existence, and the truth that one human's courage could touch even the heart of a queen who ruled the stars. Lyra had grown accustomed to life aboard Loretha's ship. The corridors of flowing light and the gentle hum of energy no longer felt alien. They felt like a second home. But despite her growing confidence, she could sense that the universe beyond the ship was vast, and it did not always hold kindness. One morning, Loretha summoned her to the observation chamber. The stars stretched endlessly, glittering with the light of distant suns, but there was something new, something dark moving in the void. "Lyra," Loretha said, her voice calm yet firm, "we have detected a vessel approaching. Its energy is unstable, chaotic. Its presence is a threat." Lyra stepped closer to the transparent wall, peering out. The vessel was massive, jagged, and metallic, unlike the elegant ships she had piloted in training. It pulsed with an aggressive rhythm, as if hunger itself powered its engines. "Can we communicate?" Lyra asked, already feeling the weight of responsibility. "Perhaps," Loretha replied, "but caution is needed. Its kind does not understand diplomacy. It understands only strength and clarity of will." Lyra felt a shiver of fear. She had faced challenges on the ship before, but this was different. This threat came from the galaxy itself, a being beyond Loretha's immediate control. And yet she remembered Loretha's lessons. Courage was not the absence of fear, but action despite it. The ship's systems activated defensive protocols automatically, shimmering shields forming around it. Lyra took a deep breath, centering herself. She reached out with her mind as she had been taught, feeling the flow of energy in the ship, the pulse of life around her, and the chaotic vibrations from the approaching vessel. "You can do this," Loretha said. "Do not react with anger. React with understanding. Find the thread that connects us." Lyra focused, sending a gentle pulse into the approaching vessel. For a moment, nothing happened. Then she felt it, a flicker of consciousness, raw and untamed. It was not malicious in a way humans could define. It was a mind driven by survival and instinct, a force that had never encountered empathy. "Stop," Lyra projected, not as a command, but as a question. "What do you seek?" The response came as a rush of energy, chaotic and overwhelming. Fear, hunger, confusion. Lyra recoiled slightly but held her focus. Slowly, steadily, she sent waves of calm, grounding the vessel's energy. The jagged edges of its hull vibrated almost as if it were listening. Loretha watched silently, pride and caution in her gaze. "Good, but now prepare. It may test you." The first strike came without warning. The vessel unleashed a surge of energy, powerful enough to rattle the shields. Alarms blared, lights flickered, and the ship rocked violently. Lyra's hands hovered over the control interface, her mind racing to maintain balance between defense and connection. "Calm," Loretha said. "Focus on the center of the storm. There is a pattern if you can see it." Lyra closed her eyes and felt. The vessel's energy, though chaotic, was not without rhythm. Pulses of aggression alternated with hesitation, like a heartbeat skipping in fear. She synchronized her own energy, projecting confidence and calm, guiding the vessel gently, showing it that destruction was not necessary. Slowly, The attack ceased. The massive ship hovered in the void, quivering slightly, but no longer striking. Lyra opened her eyes and saw the truth. She had not defeated it with force. She had reached it, touched it with her humanity, and reminded it that there were choices beyond violence. "You did well," Laretha said, her voice warm with approval. "Few beings can reach a mind so distant from understanding. Few can bridge the gap between instinct and reason." Lyra exhaled, feeling the weight of relief, but she knew this was only the beginning. The universe was full of beings like this one, intelligent, powerful, and untamed, and she would need all her courage, wisdom, and humanity to face them. In the following days, Lyra studied the vessel's traces, learning about its origin and its kind. She discovered that many civilizations in the galaxy were connected by threads of energy and influence, some benevolent, some hostile. Each encounter, each act of courage could ripple across light years, affecting lives she had never imagined. Laretha guided her patiently, explaining history, strategy, and the responsibility that came with power. "Do not underestimate your influence," and she said. "One human can change the outcome of worlds. One act of courage can alter the path of countless lives." Lyra reflected on her past, on the day she had saved Laretha. That single act had set her on this journey, had bridged the distance between human and alien, had changed the course of a galaxy. And now, facing threats she had never dreamed of, she understood the truth in Laretha's words. Yet the lessons were not only about courage or power. They were about understanding, empathy, and connection. Lyra encountered beings who had been driven by fear, by hunger, by misunderstanding. Each time she reached out with patience and clarity, listening with her mind, touching with her heart, and guiding with gentle intent. Slowly she began to realize that her humanity, her compassion, her courage, her sense of right was her greatest strength. One evening, after a particularly long day of training and observation, Lyra sat alone in the observation chamber. The stars stretched endlessly, glittering with light and possibility. She thought of Aloria, of the life she had left behind. She missed it, and yet she did not feel regret. She understood now that her journey had purpose, that her absence from Earth had meaning, and that her actions could shape more than one world. Laretha joined her silently. Lyra did not need to speak. The Queen's presence was comforting enough. "You are ready for more than defense," Laretha said. "You are ready to venture beyond the ship, to face challenges that cannot be contained within walls or shields." Lyra's heart quickened. "Beyond the ship?" "Yes," Laretha replied. "There are worlds in peril, civilizations in need of guidance, and forces that threaten balance. You will go, and you will act not as a weapon but as a human, an example of courage and understanding." Lyra felt a mixture of excitement and fear. She had trained for this moment, yet the weight of responsibility was enormous. "I'll do my best," she whispered. "You will do more than your best," Laretha said, her eyes gleaming with trust. "You will remind the galaxy that humanity is capable of greatness, even in ways it cannot yet imagine." The next day, Lyra prepared for her first journey outside the ship. She donned a sleek suit designed to interface with alien environments, a suit that amplified her energy and connected her to Laretha's ship even while she was distant. The vessel she would pilot was small, agile, and capable of extraordinary speed, designed for both observation and subtle influence. As she launched, the stars streaked past her and the void seemed endless. Lyra focused on her mission, to reach a distant planet where energy disruptions threatened a civilization she had never seen. She did not feel alone. Laretha's presence remained, a guiding force woven into the ship and her own mind. When she arrived, the planet was in turmoil. Cities flickered with unstable energy, and the inhabitants, humanoid but with features unfamiliar to Lyra, looked up at the sky in fear. She sensed their confusion and their distress, and she knew that the first test of her diplomacy, empathy, and courage had begun. Lyra touched the energy flows, projecting calm and understanding, and slowly the instability began to settle. The people watched in awe, unsure of what had happened, but feeling safer nonetheless. Lyra realized something important. She did not need weapons or force to influence events. Her humanity, her courage, compassion, and clarity was enough. As she returned to Laretha's ship, Lyra understood the truth of her journey. The universe was vast, full of challenges and threats, but also full of opportunities for understanding, connection, and growth. Each act of courage, each moment of empathy could ripple outward, touching lives she had never imagined. And somewhere, far beyond the stars, Queen Laretha remembered. She remembered the human who had reached out in a moment of danger, the human who had saved her life, and the human who now moved boldly among the stars, learning the true power of humanity. Lyra's journey had only begun. The first threat had been met, the first lesson learned, and the first bond strengthened. The galaxy awaited, filled with challenges, mysteries, and choices that could shape countless destinies, and Lyra, the human who vanished from Aloria, was ready to meet them all. Lyra had begun to understand her place in the vast universe, but she was about to learn that courage alone was not enough. The galaxy, as Laretha had warned, held forces far more complex and dangerous than any human mind could easily grasp. It began with a message, carried through the silent pulses of the ship's energy. Lyra felt it as soon as she entered the training chamber. A disturbance, subtle yet undeniable, like a shadow moving across sunlight. The energy signature was unlike anything she had encountered before, intelligent, calculated, and cold. Laretha appeared beside her, her eyes filled with a seriousness that Lyra rarely saw. "Lyra," she said, her voice calm but heavy. "There are beings in the outer systems who will not understand your compassion. They see empathy as weakness. You must be prepared." Lyra's heart quickened, but she nodded. She had faced threats before, learned to influence minds, and protected civilizations from destruction. Still, this felt different. There was no immediate attack, no chaos, only the sense of something lurking, waiting, observing. "Where are we going?" Lyra asked. "To the Valen system," Laretha replied. "A place of strategic importance. A threat has arisen, one that may affect countless lives if unchecked. You will go ahead of me." Lyra hesitated. The thought of facing danger without Laretha beside her was daunting. But the Queen's gaze held trust, a reminder of the bond formed when Lyra had saved her life. "I understand," she said, determination hardening in her chest. Lyra piloted her vessel through the expanse of stars, the vast emptiness around her both beautiful and terrifying. As she approached the Valen system, the shadows she had felt became clearer. Fleets of dark ships moving with precision, cloaked in energy that resisted detection. They were organized, powerful, and poised to strike. She adjusted her sensors, sending subtle pulses to detect life forms aboard the vessels. The readings were strange, unlike any species she had studied. They were not completely alive in the way she understood life. They were part machine, part organic, their intentions unclear. Yet their energy screamed of control, domination, and destruction. Lyra took a deep breath and reached out with her mind as she had practiced. She sent a signal of calm and reason, a thread of communication meant to connect, not command. For a moment, nothing responded. Then a wave of coldness pushed back like a wall of ice, rejecting her presence. "They do not wish to listen," Lyra said softly, tension in her voice. Laretha's voice came in her mind, steady and reassuring. "Not all beings will respond to compassion, but knowledge is power. Observe, understand, then act. You are not alone." Lyra nodded, focusing on observation. She analyzed the formations, the energy flows, the rhythms of the ships. Slowly, she began to see patterns, small vulnerabilities in their coordination, moments when their focus shifted. Knowledge was her first weapon, patience her second. Suddenly, one of the dark ships broke from formation, heading directly toward her. Its engines flared, energy weapons charging. Lyra's vessel rocked as the first blast hit her shields. The hum of the energy around her vibrated, and for a moment, fear surged. But she steadied herself, remembering the lessons Laretha had taught her. "Connect," Laretha urged. "Reach beyond the surface. Find the pulse of life within them." Lyra focused, sending a steady, calming presence through the chaos. She touched the machine-organic hybrid mind of the attacker, not with commands, but with a question. "Why do you destroy?" The response was overwhelming. A flood of logic, fear, and desire for control. The being had never encountered a presence like hers, never understood empathy. And yet in that moment it hesitated, its attack faltering, its energy wavering. Lyra seized the opportunity. She projected understanding, showing the consequences of destruction, the value of cooperation, the potential for survival without violence. The hybrid ship slowed, then reversed course, retreating back to the fleet. "You are learning faster than I anticipated," Laretha said. her voice tinged with pride. But know this, not every mind will yield so easily. The Valen threat is only the beginning. Lyra's pulse slowed as the immediate danger passed. She realized the truth of her journey. Intelligence and courage were crucial, but understanding, patience, and empathy could achieve what force never could. She was becoming more than a human alone in the galaxy. She was a bridge between worlds, a force that could influence even those who seemed unreachable. The next challenge came in unexpected form. As Lyra navigated the system, she discovered a planet at the edge of the Valen territory. Its cities were in ruins, energy grids flickering erratically, and its inhabitants cowering under the shadow of the dark fleet. Lyra sensed their fear and despair and felt an urgent pull to act. Landing her vessel, she stepped onto the surface. The air was breathable but tinged with energy disturbances, and the skies above shimmered with interference from the hybrid fleet. The inhabitants, tall, slender beings with translucent skin and luminous eyes, watched her approach with curiosity and caution. Lyra knelt, projecting calm and openness. "I am here to help," she sent through thought. "You are not alone." The beings hesitated, but the sincerity in her presence reached them. Slowly, they began to respond, sharing fragments of knowledge about the Dark Fleet, their strategies, and the vulnerabilities they could exploit. Lyra listened carefully, absorbing everything. This was not just a battle of force, it was a battle of understanding, communication, and trust. Over the following days, Lyra coordinated with the inhabitants, creating subtle defenses, stabilizing energy flows, and preparing for the inevitable encounter with the fleet. She did not command or force them. She guided, taught, and shared knowledge. By the time the dark ships returned, the planet was ready. When the fleet arrived, their assault was methodical, precise, and powerful. But Lyra's preparations held. Energy shields pulsed, defenses activated in harmony with her presence, and the inhabitants worked together, confident in her guidance. Lyra reached out with her mind once more, touching the hybrid commanders with the calm, persistent thread she had used before. Slowly, confusion and hesitation rippled through the fleet. They did not understand her fully, but they felt her influence. In that moment, they paused, recalculating, reevaluating, questioning. The battle ended not with destruction, but with withdrawal. The fleet retreated, uncertain and wary of the human who had bridged the gap between fear and understanding. Lyra's heart raced, but relief followed swiftly. She had succeeded, not through force, but through courage, wisdom, and empathy. When she returned to Loritha's ship, the Queen greeted her with pride. "You have taken your first step into the wider galaxy," she said. "You have learned that courage must be balanced with wisdom, that strength alone is not enough, and that humanity holds a power others cannot comprehend." Lyra exhaled, feeling the weight of her accomplishments and the enormity of what lay ahead. The universe was vast, full of challenges, dangers, and mysteries, but she now understood her place within it. She was not alone, and her actions mattered. Yet even in victory, a quiet question lingered in her mind. What of her home, the world she had left behind? Aeloria, her friends, her family, were they safe, unaware of the human who had vanished, or did they remember her at all? Loritha seemed to read her thoughts. "Patience," the Queen said gently. "Your world will remember you when the time is right. But until then, your focus must remain on the tasks before you. The galaxy is in motion and your courage is needed." Lyra nodded. She had learned much, but the journey was far from over. Greater threats awaited, challenges that would test not only her courage, but her intellect, her morality, and her very understanding of life itself. And through it all, the bond between human and Queen, the bond formed in a moment of life-saving courage, remained unbroken, stronger than ever. As the ship moved through the stars, Lyra gazed out at the universe, a mixture of awe and determination in her heart. The first threat had been met, lessons had been learned, and the path forward was clear. She was a human who had vanished from her world, yet she had become a force capable of shaping destinies, guiding civilizations and reminding the galaxy of the power of courage, understanding, and empathy. And somewhere, deep within the Queen's mind, the memory of that first act, the moment Lyra had saved her life, glowed like a beacon, a reminder that one human could make a difference across the vastness of space. 5 years had passed, or so it seemed to humans, since Lyra had vanished from Aeloria. For her, time had been different, stretched across lessons, adventures, and discoveries among the stars. She had faced dangers, learned the deepest currents of energy, and grown in ways she could never have imagined. Yet despite her successes, there was one truth she could not forget: her home, her family, and the world she had left behind. Loretha stood beside her in the observation chamber, the stars glimmering like countless diamonds scattered across velvet. "Lyra," the Queen said, her voice gentle but commanding in Lyra's mind, "it is time. You have learned, you have grown, and now you must return. Your world waits, though it may not yet know it." Lyra nodded. Her heart swelled with anticipation, excitement, and an ache of longing she could no longer ignore. "I am ready," she replied. "But will it be the same? Will they remember me?" Loretha's eyes softened. "Memory and time are threads that can stretch, break, or bend. You have left a mark even if unseen. When you return, you will find those threads stronger than you imagine." The journey home was both swift and surreal. Lyra piloted a small vessel from Loretha's ship, guided by the Queen's presence through layers of space that seemed to bend and shimmer around them. Lyra felt a strange tug as she approached her planet, a mixture of familiarity and strangeness. The skies above Eloria glowed with golden sunlight, and the city she had known so well stretched below her, unchanged yet different, as if waiting for her return. As she descended, memories flooded her mind: the crowded streets, her favorite cafe, the hum of her apartment building, the faces of friends she had not seen in years. A warmth filled her chest, a joy she had not allowed herself to feel fully in the endless expanse of the universe. Landing carefully in a secluded area near the city's outskirts, Lyra stepped out into the familiar air, inhaling deeply. The sounds, the smells, the very feel of her world were intoxicating after so long. She realized with a gentle thrill that she had returned, not just to her home but to herself. Yet even in this familiar world she could sense the changes. People glanced her way, eyes wide with curiosity and wonder, as if they remembered something they could not fully name. The energy of her return, faint but distinct, rippled through the city. Lyra understood now that her presence carried not only memory but influence, the quiet echoes of her courage and her actions among the stars. She walked through the streets slowly, savoring the simple joys of human life. She passed the energy core station where she had worked, now humming steadily with no trace of the chaos that had brought her away. For a moment she paused, touching the familiar metal railing near the entrance. Her mind reached for the memory of that day, her first act of courage, her first real step into a larger story. And then, as if the universe itself wanted to remind her of the bond that had defined her journey, a ripple of energy passed through her, subtle and familiar. Loretha's presence reached her mind, not physically, not as a command, but as a memory, a reminder that the Queen still remembered, still watched, and still cared. "Lyra," the thought whispered gently, "you have returned. Remember what you have learned. Your world, too, has the potential to reach for the stars." Lyra smiled, a mixture of happiness and resolve. "I will remember," she replied silently. "Always." Over the following days, Lyra began to reconnect with her world. She visited her family, embraced friends who had long wondered about her disappearance, and walked the streets of Eloria with a sense of wonder and gratitude. She told no one the full story of the stars, the alien queen, or the battles she had faced. Few would believe it, and the universe had taught her that patience and timing were everything. Yet, even in her quiet life, she carried the lessons she had learned. She helped her city improve its energy systems, taught others the value of empathy and understanding, and shared her wisdom in ways subtle yet profound. Her presence inspired hope. Her courage reminded people of human potential, and her calm strength reassured those facing difficulties. One evening, as the sun set in a fiery orange sky, Lyra returned to a quiet park where she had once walked with friends. The memories of her time away, the lessons of courage, patience, and empathy all swirled within her. And in the calm of that moment, she felt the presence of Loretha once more, not as a physical being, but as a quiet pulse in her mind. "You have returned," Loretha said softly, "and yet your journey continues. Every choice, every act of courage, every moment of kindness shapes not only your world, but countless others. Remember that." Lyra closed her eyes, feeling the truth of the words. She had begun as a human technician, unaware of the universe beyond her city. She had vanished, faced dangers unimaginable, and learned the secrets of life, energy, and courage on a scale she could never have dreamed. And now she had returned, carrying those lessons, ready to influence the world she had left behind. In the quiet of the evening, Lyra looked up at the stars. Somewhere among them, Laretha ruled her people, watched over her, and remembered the human who had reached out, who had saved a queen, and who had proven that courage, empathy, and wisdom were powerful enough to touch the hearts of even those far beyond her own world. Lyra smiled. The stars no longer seemed distant or unreachable. They were part of her story, part of the world she would now help shape, and a reminder that one human's courage could ripple across time, space, and memory. She whispered softly into the night, words meant for herself, for her world, and perhaps, across the universe, I am home, and I am ready. And so Lyra's journey came full circle. From a human who had vanished in a moment of courage, she had grown into a force of understanding, a bridge between worlds, and a symbol of hope. The galaxy remembered her deeds, Laretha remembered her courage, and Aloria would never be the same, though most would not know why. For sometimes, the greatest heroes are those whose actions ripple silently, unseen, yet felt by all who are touched by the courage and humanity they carry. Lyra was one such hero, a human who vanished and returned, forever remembered by a queen and perhaps one day, by the world she had saved. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the city in gold and crimson. Lyra stood tall, feeling the quiet strength of a human who had faced the stars and returned. The journey was not over. There would always be challenges, lessons and choices, but she knew this: courage, empathy, and understanding were more powerful than any force, more lasting than any victory, and more meaningful than any glory. And as the first stars appeared in the evening sky, Lyra smiled, knowing that she had truly returned, home, to herself and to the universe she had learned to understand.